The Bourgault X35 Apollo by Topcon is the most versatile seating controller system on the market. The X35 is the nerve center of the Bourgault seating system, providing the operator a wider range of monitor, controller, and data collection features via a large 12-inch interactive color console. One of the most notable achievements of the X35 is the XTend feature. You can now have access to the X35 at your fingertips when performing critical tasks such as rate calibration and tank fills via an app on a smart device. The following series of videos are intended to provide a general overview of how to use the X35 and access some of the important features of this seater controller. Other resources, such as the operator's manual, should be referred to when operating the seating system.
So the X35 is very similar to the previous X30. A few key differences you'll notice: there's no light bar at the top. The hard buttons on the bottom have been removed. You simply slide your finger from the bottom, slide it up. They're now integrated into the screen. So that's where your power button is to turn on and off. You've still got your question box to raise so you can see what all the different icons. You just touch on a question mark, it tells you what it is. To close the question marks, you just touch on the box, it hides them. It also allows you to be able to eject your thumb drive next. You can take a snapshot if you have a thumb drive in. It'll save a screenshot of what's on there. Managing global home screen, so you can create this as a permanent screen that you can have preloaded. You can have multiple preloaded screens. The home button allows you to select the screen once you've built and managed them. And then you have your brightness buttons over here: dim, bright, and then auto setting for your brightness. Also on this screen, on the left-hand side, are links to what they call mini views. When you touch the links on the left-hand side, it opens a mini view. You can have 3 mini views open, so you can touch 3 different ones, and they will all appear on the side. If you open more than 3 mini views, it's just going to overlap them. The other one's still open, but it's in behind. You can slide them up and down and move them to however you want them. To close them, you just simply touch on them and it closes them up. So the top one here is the About window, and it's going to give you information about the monitor and the software versions. If I close that one and I open the second one, that opens the guidance pane. That gives me coverage, so I can watch the overlap, I can watch the sections turning on and off as I go across the field. Also, if I'm doing VR, that's where I'm going to be loading those maps. The next one down is going to give me my GPS position. So if I've got a GPS signal, it's going to tell me where it is. I also have memory usage, which is the next one down. It just gives you information about the monitor. Also, if you're wondering about voltage, you can touch the second tab at the top, and it's going to tell you the amount of voltage going into the monitor. So if this light isn't green at the top, you've got a power problem. You have to find out where it is. The next one down, the little green and white one, is information about a job. So if you're seating and you're doing VR and you've got a map loaded, that's going to be the information about that job. The next one down, with the 3 green boxes and the 2 little X's, that's your auto section control. That gives you boom control. So if you've got dual boom, you've got different overlap control that you can have for your seed, your fertilizer, and also for drill control. So if I want my fertilizer to only overlap 50%, I can slide that back, and I've now got 50% overlap with my fertilizer instead of the full 96. I still get the full coverage with my seed, but I'm not overlapping as much fertilizer. You can also set your field boundary, so you can set it so that it's not seeding outside the boundary. You can set it to unlimited, or if you've got a headland created, you can set it so that you can have an offset headland, and it'll actually seed the headlands last if you've got a shapefile that you can use to create that headland boundary. The last button on this one is turning the ASC off. So if you want to turn everything off, touch on that, the button turns red, your ASC is now turned off. If it's green, then you're working again. The next one down, the little yellow box, that's your switch box. You can turn on and off your sections for setting your timings. Very important to do that before you start seating with the new system. Also a very good idea, critical actually, to make sure your sections are going to the right section. So when you turn one off, product's not going to go to section 1, section 2. That way you can verify that your sections are going to the sections they're supposed to. You can see we have 2 tabs up here, so if you've got dual boom, 2 is going to be for seed, and if I touch on 3, it changes to fertilizer at the top. That's my mid-row bander ASC. The next mini view is my seeder controller, so I can always view that no matter what's on my main view by having it open. And the last one down here, if you have the integrated scale package running through the universal terminal, it'll give you the weights of your saddle tank and also the weight of your tank itself. The weight increments you can set. You can go into the settings and then you can change them, so you can have, it's basically 20 pounds on the big tanks and then 0.5 on the saddle tanks. On the mini views that you see, some of them you'll notice have a little white box at the top. Some of them don't. Any of the ones that have the little white box at the top are expandable to the main view of the screen. You can do that 2 different ways, by either touching the little white box in the top right corner. Now switch the main view here, and took the main view and created a mini view. The other way to expand that to the main view is just to touch on the center of one that has that little white icon, drag it across, and it'll swap that out as well. So if I want to see my coverage map on the main view of the screen, I open the little green triangle of mini view. I can drag it over, and now I can see on my main screen, I've got the main view of my guidance, so I can see my overlap control, I can see the different sections turning on and off, you can see the little bars on the tank, and you can also see the direction of travel. So we're going to start off on the main screen of the seeder controller. So right here you can see we've got 5 tanks open. To open the tanks, you just simply touch on the right hand side, and you can close and control the tanks or the views that are open. So if I want to close all the tank views, I just touch on each tank and they are now closed. If I want to open them, I can just simply touch on them again and it opens each tank view. Your configuration, which is a wrench and sprocket, and you also have your area counters. You've got a job area counter and you've also got an implement area counter, so now you can keep track of your acres for the whole year without worry of resetting them by having running 2. If you have more open that'll fit on this small part of the screen, you'll notice this gray bar that runs across the top. To see the rest of the screen when they're all open, just simply touch and slide, and you can watch that gray bar along the top move as it goes across through the different scenarios. The tank view that you're seeing right here is what's in a maximized view. So in the maximized view, it's showing you what's going on in the tank. It's also showing your weight remaining and the product. You need to have it in the maximized view in order to be able to change the product that's in the tank and also to fill the tank. You can create a minimized view by simply touching on the bar along the top where it's got the product name, and it closes it so you can fit more on the screen, and you can do that for all your different tank views. So now that I've done that, I can see all 5 tanks on the screen at the same time and watch the operation. I can close my configuration, so that's the wrench and sprocket, and I can also close my area counters. The area counters are also going to show you your difference from your full coverage to your treated area, so it'll tell you your difference for your overlap that you've saved. No matter what screen you're in, you can always see what's going on your tank using the dashboard along the bottom. To customize it, you simply touch on it. It opens up the customized dashboard, and then you can select what you want to have down at the bottom. It allows you to have 8 different views at the bottom. So right now I've got my fans, tank 1, tank 2, tank 3, tank 4, tank 5, and my speed. The round icon in the corner is my master switch status.
A white button means that the unit is prepared to start seeding. A red button means that conditions exist that will prevent the seeder from starting. A green button means that the seeder is on and the unit is actively seeding. A yellow button means that the switch is on, but the unit is paused or hasn't begun seeding yet.
You can change what's in here by simply touching on one of the icons up here. You can see I've unhighlighted 4, and I no longer have 4 on my dashboard. To save the settings for my dashboard, I hit the checkbox, and now that screen is going to be there. You also have what is called global home screens that I talked about earlier, so you can slide this up. And if I want to save that screen, I touch the little house with the 2 sprockets. So to save the global home screen, I've already got 3 different ones created. To save a new one, touch on Save Home Screen. Keypad comes up and then you can name it. Once you've got it named, hit the green checkbox. Now I've got that screen, I slide up again. Now I just touch the house without the sprockets, and I've got my different home screens that I have saved. Very handy. If you want, you can create one for calibrating, for filling your tank, one to go to the coverage page. It just gives you shortcuts so you're not having to reconfigure that page and move everything around. So to switch, all I do, if I want to go to this one that's labeled Fill, touch on it and it automatically loads that screen. If I want to go back to the one I just saved, I slide up from the bottom, touch the house, and I touch on Demo, and it automatically goes back to that page and loads it the way that I saved it.